PBS Hawaiʻi Classics is sponsored by the Olson Trust.
Pau Hana Years, a new day for older Americans, a time for living. Your host, Bob Barker.
Hi, and welcome to the program for and by the senior citizens of Hawaii. Today on Pau Hana Years, our guest is Fritz Sydow, an artist who for several years has been recording in oil on canvas Oahu scenes and old buildings, some long gone and others about to disappear. In fact, it looks a little bit like a gallery here in our studio. Well, Fritz, how long have you lived here in Honolulu?
About 10 years.
10 years. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Dusseldorf, near Cologne on the Rhine River in Germany.
Oh, yes. You, when was it you became interested in art?
I became interested in art after World War II in Hamburg. I got a grant from the British government, so I could study for 2.5 years as with the academy, with the Teachers Academy in Hamburg. And my main subject was art and geography.
Geography?
Yes.
Did this training involve a particular, was it oils, or did you start out training in oils? Or
well, at that time, there was not, people were not much talking about acrylic. That has developed in the last years, in particular. There was more oil paintings.
Do you always work in oil, or do you work in other media? Always work
always
in oil.
in oil.
How about other subjects? Most of what we see here is buildings and scenes. Do you get into things like still life or people?
Yes, I did. The last 3-4 years, I was actually interested in painting historical buildings of Honolulu. Because the city, as I came to the city 10 years ago, there you could see still the old buildings who now slowly, not slow, fast disappear. So in the last 3 years, I went downtown and made almost every day sketching, did sketching and made photos from these old buildings. And then I tried to put them on canvas, which was not easy. Sometimes I had only small little photos. And later, just the last year, I thought to go back and paint the past. So I was searching for old buildings, well, who were gone in the turn of the century already. Went to Bishop Museum and to libraries and picked up these photos and sketched them right away on canvas.
You said you were in Germany during World War II. Did you serve in the war?
Yes, I did. I became a soldier and had to go to Russia and came back with a shot through my knee in 1943, and then they made out a cook out of me. So I was a cook till the end of the war at the army.
That Russian front was pretty rough, wasn't it?
Very rough, yeah.
Well, why did you leave Germany?
I left Germany because I don't want to go into war anymore. I didn't like to be a soldier at all. I think I'm not made for that. So, but at that time it wasn't easy to go away from Germany. No, I couldn't go to the United States. You need an affidavit of support. We had no relatives in the United States. So I went to Canada first.
When was this?
That was in 1951.
You went to Canada?
Yes.
What did you do there?
Well, it was, if you know Saskatchewan, that's in the Middle West a prairie province, bitter cold in the winter.
Oh, yes.
You can almost count on a 9 months winter, 3 months summer only. The winters are terrible, 20, 30, 40, 50 below zero.
Yeah.
And so one day after 9 years, I decided to go to Milwaukee.
Oh, uh-huh.
So I was in Milwaukee for 4 years. I established a travel agency there, and with this opportunity I could do a lot of traveling. And then I became interested in these old buildings in Italy, in Spain, Austria, Switzerland, Germany.
Oh.
And there I made already my sketches. I made photos, and I use them now frequently.
So you actually got started in that type of work then over in Europe?
Yes, I did. Unfortunately, last year, Christmas time, I went to Germany again, and I became very interested in Oskar Kokoschka, a well-known famous painter in Germany. And as I came back, I painted right away. I started painting the city of Cologne, Rhine River, which the painting you can see now at the state capitol here in Honolulu. It was acquired by Ike Sutton, and it's a large painting of Cologne. He said, Fred, I want that painting. I was in Cologne as General Patton went over the Rhine, right at this place.
I see.
And then I painted another painting of Hamburg with the Hanseatic in the harbor. This painting, I gave this as a door prize last October at the Ala Moana Hotel.
Oh. Well, then what brought you to Hawaii?
My wife got a job here at the university in European language, and so I decided to sell my business in Milwaukee. I couldn't do it, so my daughter Sylvia took over the business, and I came to this island with my family.
You had never been here before?
No.
What was it that actually prompted you to start painting the old buildings and old scenes here? Your experience in Europe?
Yes. I think that was, I had already sketched in Europe these buildings, and I always thought later I will paint it. But when you are an immigrant, it's just an immigrant's life. You have to see that you make a living and pay your bills. So I worked in Canada. Almost, I did everything. I was a construction worker, I was a vulcanizer, I was a tailor, I was, just to make a living. Now later here in Honolulu, as I had settled down, I start painting again, my old dream.
Yes. Well, we have quite a few of your paintings here, so let's have a look at them. What is this first one we see?
The first painting is an unfinished painting. I hope to finish it for the bicentennial year.
Oh.
That will be next year. If you look at this street, I think it was the most beautiful street in the world. If you see these buildings on the left and on the right, they look like king and queens. But there's not much left today.
What street is this then?
This is Bishop Street.
Bishop Street.
I call it Bishop Street in the 50s.
Oh,
you will see later a painting, Bishop Street in the 60s. But here, the buildings are left is the second building on the right. That is the First Hawaiian Bank. Then in the back on the right is the Alexander Young building, a sandstone building built out of sandstone in a late Renaissance style. And on the foreground on the left is Alexander and Baldwin. The rest is gone.
Oh, yes.
Aiea store. One day as I came back from Pearl Ridge, my wife said, "Fritz, you have to stop here. This is an old building and it will just disappear. It wouldn't stay very long anymore." So I went out with my camera. I walked around the building, and in the back there were about 10 people sitting around a big table and doing something. So they looked at me very scared, and I said, I'm not from the press and I'm not a policeman, so just go on. I just want to paint this building.
Oh, yes.
So the two fellows, they said, you are not going to paint that building, he says. Yes, I say, I will. Not with a big brush, on canvas. So I did. Here you have the old Hackfeld & Co. building. It was located on Queen and 4th Street.
And that's Aloha Tower we see there in the back.
In the back. It was, it is now Amfak & Co.
Oh, yeah.
And it was raised about 8-9 years ago or 7 years ago. Wofat.
Oh, Wofat.
Yes. Everybody knows Wofat.
Yeah.
It's a very colorful building. But if you go inside and ask anybody how of the history of the building, nobody knows.
And then our next one is?
That is Hotel Street. I call it After Rain. On the right, Mendoza building, built in 1901 with cozy theater. See people dashing over the street.
Oh, yes.
The Halekulani Hotel. The Halekulani Hotel is, I think, the only pre-war hotel which has retained his Hawaiian flavor and atmosphere.
Oh,
You'll see here the Moana Hotel.
Oh, and the pier in front.
The pier in front. I haven't seen the pier, and I think many people around here not either.
This is the case where you went by a photograph.
I took this from an outrigger book, and many people who saw this painting, they say, well, it looks exactly how it was. I went over this pier, there's this restaurant. The City Hall. City Hall, not
Honolulu
everybody.
Holly.
Yeah, not everybody knows that's the City Hall. Some people think that's that is McKinley High School or the Academy of Art, or so they say. It's amazing how there are not many people know the city.
Yes, I can imagine that.
Now here you see first some, how do you call these, hacks?
Hacks.
Yeah, horse-drawn
hacks.
The horse-drawn hacks. My wife said they look like goats, but later they will look like horses. This is on Merchant Street 1912. It is the old Stangenwald building, now Dean Witter.
Oh.
It is built with Italian Renaissance details, and the details and trimmings are all gone. I think they took them away for security reasons, but I want to have back, I want to paint this particular building as it was, the original Dean Witter. On the right, you see, is the former Judd building. It has changed over the years. There's another story on top now. It is the home of the first Federal Savings and Loan on Fort and Merchant.
Oh, yes.
On the left side is the former Hawaiian printing press. Now it became later the home of the Honolulu Star Bulletin.
Star Bulletin, yes. I used to work in
and
there.
When they consolidated in 1912. A painting of the Royal Hawaiian Hotel and the outrigger.
The old Royal Hawaiian.
The
old
yes,
outrigger.
the outrigger is gone, but the pink queen is still there.
Oh, there's a busy scene.
Yeah, that is, you will see the sugar mill in, where is that? In, I will get it later. This sugar mill is still working, while another sugar mill in Ewa is dead. There are a lot of old buildings around, which I want to paint later, when I find the time to do that. This is Nuuanu Street with the Foster building, built in 1901. Very colorful building. On the right side, you'll have the former Royal Saloon, changed the name quite often to Royal Spaghetti House.
This one right on the right there.
Right on the right, the Royal Saloon.
The Royal Saloon.
That was ready for occupation in the 1890s, I think.
Oh yes.
I think they will preserve it. This is the Haleiwa Bridge. Well, most of you maybe have seen the bridge. I don't know how long it will stay. Now, there's a similar painting as you have seen just a while ago. In the foreground on the left is now, it changed the name too from Territorial Kitchen to Gloria's Harley, she calls it. It's a nice place to rest and sit down. I was in there last week just to look the building from the inside.
Oh, yes.
It's all brick inside. I call this painting Once at Portlock. This pier was still there 6-7 years ago. It disappeared suddenly. I don't know why. It was still in good shape. The newspaper building, it's hanging now in Haleiwa, and it was a businessman from California bought 7 paintings, and he decorated his factory there, which is called Santa Fe Equipment.
Oh.
The Washington Place, since 1921, the home of the governors. The old jungle church in Waikīkī. It was, I think it had a fire a few years ago, and it's empty now.
That tower on we see on the right there, wasn't that destroyed in that fire?
Well, it is not really. It's only the paint maybe is gone,
I
and
see.
it was. The old Pantheon bar. They say, or it's written, on the oldest bar in town.
The oldest bar
The oldest bar in Honolulu, established in 1883, I think. The next is the McLean Building, and further on is the Perry Block, where Bill Ledros has his restaurant.
Oh, yes.
That's the Iolani Palace. The brewery, Royal Brewery, the original home of Primo. The last beer they brewed was 1960. Aloha Tower with the Monterey. That's the immigration building. Well, it's a little story. A lady came to me before Christmas and said, I want to have a painting for my husband as a Christmas present. So we agreed to, she wants to pay only $350. I painted it. 4 weeks before Christmas, she called and said, Mr. Sydow, I'm sorry. I cannot buy that painting because I talked with my husband and he said, this is the last thing I want to have in my house. And he was a director of that building for some years.
Oh.
So I'm stuck with it. McKinley High School. It's a magnificent building. I painted that last year for the for the reunion of 1944 class.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
class reunion.
Yes. The natatorium. Well, you don't hear very much about natatorium and Royal Brewery these days, but I think there are people still working on these projects, either to save them or to destroy them.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Waikīkī in the background. This street, Merchant Street, the oldest building is the Melcher Building. It was built in 1854.
Oh.
It is built out of coral rock, and it was acquired by the German consul Günther von Hamm, who knows this family from Bremen.
Mm-hmm.
On the left, well, you'll see that in a later painting. This is Bishop Street. On the left is the Bishop Bank, former Bishop Bank.
Oh.
Yes, it was built in 1878.
Mm-hmm.
This is Bishop Street in the 60s. You have seen Bishop Street in the 50s. This painting I got from Alexander and Baldwin, with the courtesy of Alexander and Baldwin. They have acquired this painting last year, and you can see it on the main floor, on the first floor. Bishop Street. Nina's Cafe and the Aloha Hotel.
Aloha Hotel.
Aloha Hotel. I think this was one of the first hotels, and everybody, I think, would have taken that name, Aloha. Now you cannot see that sign anymore. The sign fell down.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
St. Philomena in Salt Lake area. It was destroyed by malicious burning.
Oh.
There's
a sugar mill.
the sugar mill in Ever.
Oh, the same sugar mill?
No, a different one.
Oh, different one.
Yes. This sugar mill is dead.
Mm-hmm. Well, Fritz, what prompts you to paint a particular building or a scene? I mean, do you just walk by it or drive by it and say, oh, that is something I would like to paint? Or do you think in terms of research and history and so forth, and look it up and then decide to paint it?
Well, I do all of these things what you said.
Oh.
But I have to, last year in particular and 2 years ago, I went in the downtown area and made photos from almost every building downtown.
Mm-hmm.
So I have these photos to the hundreds at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked through them, and then I designed at home.
Oh, you decided.
You cannot do very much these days on the street. Traffic is too rapid,
Yes.
and the streets are all covered with big trucks and cars, so I can't do that. And then, if the building is still there, I go downtown and have a look, make some sketches, and then I go home and sketch it right away on canvas.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
That's the idea.
Do you get commissions to do particular buildings?
I do. And if a person is interested in something like a home of his father or mother where he lived, I'll do this kind of paintings from photos.
Mm-hmm.
And if the building is still there, I go there and sketch there and take some notes.
Do you ever actually do the painting at the scene, or do you always do the painting at home from sketches?
I went once with a painting that was a view from Punchbowl.
Mm-hmm.
I went with my painting. It was almost finished, only I needed a few details. I opened my palette, my paint, and so I was sitting on a little quiet place. And suddenly, after a few minutes, my whole palette was full of ants, and it was dusty, the wind was blowing. So I thought, that's the last time I went out with my... That's how it is. I think you can see on that painting still the dust, the sand on, and the ants.
So now you photograph them and sketch them and then do
Yes,
the
I do.
actual painting at
And
home.
if, as I say, the building is still there, I go to the spot. And but this I mostly do on Sunday mornings,
When it's
because
quiet.
there's no traffic, and
yeah.
in the daytime there is.
Well, Fritz, it's a very commendable endeavor you're involved in now, and thank you very much for coming and telling us about it.
Thank you, Bob.
Fritz Sydow, artist of Kuli'o'o Valley. This is Bob Barker leaving you with this thought. An artist has more than two eyes.
Try to remember when life was so tender that no one wept except the willow. Try to remember when life was so tender that dreams were kept beside your pillow. Deep in December, it's nice to remember the fire of September.